What's up, tribe? How you guys doing? Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. I hope you like this video. This is your review for Greenleaf season 4 episode 3. I'm a little confused by some things in this episode, so y'all gonna have to help me out in the chat. Shout out to my chat for reminding me that Lionel did leave Grace $10 million, and that's why she a little flush with cash right about now. And remember, it's money that she wasn't really all that crazy about getting to begin with, so I guess she don't care how she spend it. Shout out to finding my long lost daddy who gonna send me leave me $10 million when he die. Anyway, so the episode starts off with Grace in Phoenix going to see her son. Now look, Grace, you tripping. Couple of things in this episode you really tripping about, but I'll get there. She gets to his halfway house. She late. The man tells her visiting hours over at 5. She said, "Look, I'm her mom. I can't even get it out. I'm his mama." He said, "Is he expecting you?" Grace was like, Now look, did y'all peep the rotary phone though? Who else peeped the damn rotary phone at the halfway house? Now I know that, sometimes halfway houses, technology may not have caught up with them, but a rotary phone though, for real? Anyway, you would put that in the room. I could put that in my classroom and tell the kids what you're supposed to do with it, and they would look at me like I was crazy, like, what the who? Anyway, I just thought that was cute. Shout out to the retro phone. But he calls AJ to come downstairs, and AJ comes downstairs, and he is not feeling it. He like, "What you doing here?" She said, he said, "Look, you supposed to just cut me a check. I don't know why you're here." And of course, Grace getting all emotional about to cry. He was like, "Look, I know this is probably really emotional for you, but I'm good. You didn't want me when you had me. You didn't want me when I came looking for you. So you don't get to do the whole emotional mama thing now. Either you're going to give me, if you don't have a check with you, then you can roll out." And she's like, "AJ, I want to." He was like, "You know what? Don't even worry about it. Should have never called you." And he tells the guy at the front desk, "Don't let her back in here." And he rolls out. We'll get back to them. Back on down to Memphis, down in Calvary. Got a couple of things going on. Lady Maiden had a dream, and she telling Bishop that she had this dream that they were in a museum and a picture had been destroyed, and Bishop was standing there with the knife in his hand, and it was a picture of Jesus. And Bishop was like, "Say what? I did that?" And that God, she said, so God was sending me a message telling me that you're going to have to apologize. Bishop said, "I need to do what?" She said, "You have to apologize, James. You have to apologize to the church. Like, this is our step to getting back to where we need to go." He said, "I tell you what. When the Lord bring me that dream himself, I think about it. But until then, I'm not apologizing to nobody." Clarissa and Jacob. Now, it's been a week. Jacob told Clarissa, "Give me a week to pray on this land." It's been a week and a day. Clarissa says, we got an offer on this land. Jacob said, "I don't really want to sell it." And so they sort of have a little moment, and she's like, "Look, it's just a piece of land. What's the big deal? They're willing to offer us more than what we paid for it. So not only are we going to get our money back, we're going to make a little bit of a profit, and I get my dream house. Well, a house." And Jacob just ain't feeling it. He's just like, he's not feeling it. But you know how Clarissa is. So, he kind of holds her off for a minute. He said, "Look, just give me a minute to kind of just think this through." But y'all know how she feels. She ain't trying to hear it. Grace is out of town, and obviously she didn't tell nobody she was going to Phoenix. Now we find out, I'm telling y'all, we found out a little bit more about this whole Phoenix connection. We'll get there in a minute. But there's a woman there looking for Grace, and she's looking upset. One of the older parishioners, she was been at Calvary forever, and she's upset that Grace is not around. But who comes swooping in is Philip. "Oh, I can help you. Come on, let me talk to you. Let me talk." Now y'all know Corinne tried to tell Philip, "Look, I'll call Grace. we'll get this straight. Now, the woman did not have an appointment with Grace. Let me explain something to y'all how I was kind of pissed off at this whole situation. Because I feel like, and I get it, that you're the pastor and people expect you to be available when they're going through crisis and stuff like that. But if you're not there, you're not there. If you didn't have an appointment, I get it that you're going through something and you having a moment. But for her to get that upset, it feels so betrayed by Grace that Grace is not available to her. She said that her appointment with Grace was for the next day. Now, granted, Grace missed that one too, but that's neither here nor there. You didn't know Grace was going to miss that appointment. Grace was had an appointment with her the next day. She went to go see Grace the day before so they could sort of touch and agree on how they were going to have an intervention with her daughter who had sort of relapsed back on drugs. But my thing was, I just felt like she was acting like Grace had done her wrong or Grace owed her something or it was such a harsh situation. And I was just like, I don't agree with this. I don't feel like at that moment, I don't feel like Grace had done anything wrong. Like, Corinne was going to call Grace on the phone. Grace could have talked that woman through whatever she was going through and potentially been available for the appointment they had the next day. Nobody knew Grace was going to miss that appointment. As far as she knew, I mean, Grace could have just as easily been at the damn grocery store. But she was acting like she just wasn't there for me, and I don't understand. And you know, Phil was there for me. Phil DeMar was there when I needed him. And I don't know, y'all. I just didn't like how that whole thing went down because I felt like at that moment, Grace really hadn't done anything wrong. Corinne was going to get her on the phone, whatever. So, but neither here nor there. Corinne called Lady May and let Lady May know what was going on. So Lady May gets the word. And she decides that she's going to go visit this woman, you know, because y'all know Lady May still trying to play nice and still trying to, you know, get to church. So she's going to devise a plan on how she going to handle it, honey. Now, still back over to Calvary. We have Charity is back in the helm of being music director, and it's this song. And, you know, look, I grew up Catholic, so that type of, that song we heard that they were listening to, that was my bread and butter. Like, that was a typical Sunday for me. But, of course, in a traditional, you know, Southern Baptist church, Black Baptist church at that, they weren't trying to hear it. So, of course, Charity was like, we are not singing that song. I don't care. Come to find out, it's a song that is supposed to be sung at every Hope and Harmony every Sunday. And Judy is in charge of the ministry, I guess, for all of the Hope and Harmonies. So Charity about to shoot off an email to Miss Judy, and you know her assistant, you know, the guy, her boy, was like, please don't do that. Like, I was instructed to take everything through Grace first. Like, we are not allowed to email Judy. And Charity was like, and she was getting ready to do it anyway. And he was like, please don't get me in trouble. Like, you know, I'm telling you what the protocol is. Don't do it anyway. She was like, fine, I'll talk to Grace. You know, yeah, I know she don't like that shit anyway. So Jacob goes to talk to his dad about his dilemma with this land. And, you know, of course, his father's like, you bought the land up under me. You know, when you bought the land, you had ill intent. Like, you bought it out of anger. You bought it out of spite. And now you deal with the problem. But Jacob was like, come on, Dad, like, for real, I really need your advice. So Bishop was like, look, all I'm going to say to you is this. Land is gold. You know, he gave him this whole speech about land being close to faith, and he's, you know, but at the end of the day, and this is just for real, land is money. Land is always an investment. Land is always money. Even if it's a landfill, it's going to make you money. And he was telling him, don't let go of that land. He said, you know, in 20 years, it's going to be worth more than what it's worth now. Hold on to the land. He said, but let me explain something to you. Carissa ain't mad about the land. Carissa is still mad about that situation with Tasha. And what you got to do is make her feel secure. It's not about the home building. It's about the home foundation of y'all marriage. And she was like, you have to make her feel loved. You have to give her that security. He said, but if you want my opinion, don't sell the damn land. Lady May comes down the steps. Honey, she is dressed to the nines. Okay, Lady May is going to go visit this parishioner. And is that the right word, parishioner? And find out what's going on. So Bishop was like, well, you want me to go with you? And at first, Lady Mae was like, yeah, no, I got this. He said, well, come on. I know, I understand you mad about the whole dream situation, but let me go help. She says, come on then. You can go. Come on. So they get to the woman's home, and you could tell she was uncomfortable and really didn't want them there to begin with. Like, you could see she wasn't feeling that whole situation. And she lets them know, and that's when she sort of voices her anger that Grace wasn't available and that Phil handled it, and that she was going to, she did let them know about the intervention or whatever, but that Phil was going to go. And Lady Mae was like, well, at first she didn't want to tell them nothing. But then Lady Mae done sent Bishop out to the car so she could have a one-on-one. And she said, look, before you embarrass both of us. I said, and that's when, like I said, she expressed her feelings, and she told him about the intervention and said that, she said, well, you want me to go? Because, of course, Lady Mae knew the whole situation. Her daughter had relapsed. She knew about the drug addiction and stuff. And she said, no, I'd rather have, Pastor Dumar go with us. And Lady Mae started talking about, well, I told you, I meant what I said with a day with Lady Mae. I always have you. She said, Lady Mae, that's what I meant when I said, let's not embarrass. I don't want to embarrass us. Embarrass you, embarrass me. She said, let me be clear. My husband and myself, we voted to bring Hope and Harmony Ministries in. And we weren't voting against Bishop. We were voting against you. And it was like a slap in Lady Mae's face, because in Lady Mae's mind, the church wanted her. The church just didn't want Bishop and Bishop's baggage. And had it not been for Bishop's baggage, in her mind, she would have that church. And so it was sort of a slap in her face. And she said, well, what do you mean? She said, what have I ever done other than serve you? She said, nobody believes that you didn't know. She said, what do you mean didn't know? She said, nobody believes that you didn't know about Mac and what he was doing to those girls, and that he was using your scholarship money as hush money. Nobody believes that you weren't a part of that and you didn't know what was going on and you didn't help him cover up his crimes. And I mean, you could see Lady Mae was hurt, which should be. And when she got back in the car, her face was just, and Bishop asked her about it, and she said, I don't want to talk about it. Now this is where I'm confused, y'all. Now y'all break this down for me in them comments, because when they take a damn near year hiatus in between seasons, I be forgetting some stuff. I thought that was the whole conflict with Grace, Oprah Winfrey's character, Lady Mae, Mac, when this whole show started, that Grace tried to tell them what was going on with Faith, and Lady Mae didn't believe her. So it's not that Lady Mae didn't know. It's that Lady Mae didn't believe what Grace was trying to tell her. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, y'all, but I could have sworn that Grace told Lady Mae what was going on and why Faith did what she did and why Faith killed herself, or was on drugs and all of that. I could have sworn that conversation took place. Now, y'all correct me if I'm wrong. Now, did she know that Mac was using the money and all of that? I don't remember those specifics, but I'm almost certain she knew about the money. I knew about the molestation of at least Faith. Now, y'all correct me if I'm wrong. Put it in them comments. I need to go back and look at season 1, because that thing confused me. Because she was just so... Anyway, because there was the scene later on in the episode where she finally did open up to Bishop, and she said, I don't blame these women if that's who they think I am. Then obviously I don't blame them for thinking I'm this horrible demon, like, and she was just so upset. She was just so upset. And I was just thinking to myself, but you did know. But anyway, correct me, y'all. Get me together in them comments. Let me know. Y'all know how y'all do. So, back in Phoenix, Grace didn't take no for an answer, honey. Grace was sitting there waiting for him when he came to check in at noon, because halfway house, you got to check in, you got a curfew and all that good stuff. Now, AJ had told the man at the front desk with the rotary phone, don't let her back in here, but clearly he don't care, or he don't take orders from AJ, because she was sitting there waiting for him when he got there. So, he comes in and he's like, why are you here? She said, look, I'll give you the money. Like, I'm going to give you the money, but please just give me a minute. Let me talk to you. And they had a moment, you know, they did have a good conversation. And he asked her, he said, you know, she explained why when he came looking for her that she didn't know how to deal with the situation. She didn't know how to incorporate him into her life. And she was wrong and she was sorry. And he said, well, do you feel like you made a mistake having me, like giving me away in the first place? And she was honest and said, I don't know. You know, but they have a moment. And I think that that's about as honest as Grace can be with him in that moment. You know, I don't know. But in that moment, of course, she sees a fight and she realizes kind of how unstable that whole halfway house situation is. She said, look, we'll go look for some apartments. Like, I got you. We're going to go look for some apartments. We'll get back to that. Back down to Calvary. That hot in the tail Miss Zora done showed up down to Calvary because her dad is about to have another session with the basketball star. And, of course, y'all know Zora. And she did look cute now. I ain't going to say she ain't look cute. She looked real cute. She was church appropriate. You know what I mean? She didn't have her boobs hanging out. She wasn't wearing no tight, short dress. But she was definitely, it was definitely vixenish. I don't know how else to put that. It's in that moment that Miss Charity finds out that Grace is in Phoenix. Now, a couple of things that Charity does with that information. First of all, Charity fires off an email to Miss Judy because I guess she figured, well, Grace isn't here for me to go through, get that information, to talk to. So I'm going to go ahead and email Judy, which is what she really wanted to do to begin with. That's what she wanted to do to begin with, honey. Back down to the Phoenix. I'm going to go ahead and not finish the whole thing up, but we're going to get to Phoenix. So they go to look at some apartments, and the first apartment is, he said, yeah, because she asked him, she said, do you have any apartments in mind? And he said, yeah. He said it has a pool. The apartment's nice. It looks like probably a really decent apartment in a decent neighborhood. You know, look like granite tops and very spacious and all that good stuff. But the landlord doesn't want to rent to him, even though Grace will be co-signing because he's a convicted felon. And the woman says it right in front of the boy. So, of course, you know, he feeling some kind of way. And Grace tells him, she said, look, all right, this one didn't work out, but we'll find another one. He said, it's just going to happen wherever we go. It's just going to be the same thing. She said, then we'll keep looking until, you know, we find somebody that says yes. Like, we're going to keep looking. He said, well, I thought your plane was leaving, because she said she was leaving that night. She said, well, I'll just have to stay another day. She said, and here's the thing. And I knew when she said this, I knew this wasn't going to happen. I knew she was going to end up disappointing this boy. She said, I'm going to stay until we find you someplace to live. I knew when she said it, that was a lie. Now, I think that's what her intention was, but I knew when she said it, something was going to happen. And he said, yeah, we'll see. And he said to her, he said, I'm not who you think I am. And she said, well, what do you think I think you are? You know, what do you think I think? And he said, I don't know. He said, but I was robbing houses to eat. I was hungry. I was on the streets and I was robbing houses to eat. He said, I just did 5 years for being hungry and sleepy. She said, well, what do you mean? He had broken into a house. He knew that the people were on vacation. And he said, it just felt good to be somewhere that was warm, that was quiet, and that was safe. And so she said to him, she said, I'm not leaving until we find you someplace safe. And I said, Grace, I knew when she said it, because his response was, yeah, we'll see. And I said, she's going to disappoint him just like everybody in his life has disappointed him. And unfortunately, I was sort of right. We'll get back to that, though. Back over to Calvary. Zora is doing what Zora does best. Zora is flirting with old boy. But old boy got the girlfriend with him. I believe her name is Rachel. Y'all know how I like to make up names. I'm going to get the right name. Hold on. I'm going to get the right name. Glad I checked, because her name Nikki. I don't know where I got Rachel from, but her name is Nikki. Nikki was peeping Zora from the word go. She was giving Zora that side eye all the whole time. She peeped Zora's game off break, okay? Now somehow or another Zora ended up attaching herself to the two of them because he asked her, did he know did she know where he could get some coffee from? And somehow she thought that was an invitation for her to have coffee with him. But neither here nor there. Jacob was running late for the appointment. So they go to have coffee, the three of them. And oh boy is letting it be known that Nikki is his woman. Like he's calling her his queen. All of that. So Zora, she's sort of playing it cool. But it's obvious that she was sort of trying to get with this dude. Now let me say this. And I thought about this last week when Zora was being all hot to trot for this dude. Has anybody gotten Zora any therapy? And I'm not even trying to be funny because remember, we realized that this is only a couple of weeks after all that stuff went down. Zora has not been home that long. And she's not been out of this abusive relationship that long. And I get it that everybody's happy to have her home. But they really should have that baby in some therapy. Like, she needs some therapy. The fact that she even allowed herself, I shouldn't say allowed, because I guess nobody allows, but you know what I'm saying. I guess, the fact that she was in that situation and let it get to the point where it got to, she's still very young. Remember, she dropped out of high school. You know what I mean? Like, I just really feel like that girl needs to be in some therapy. Like, anyway, and I'm just surprised that, especially her mom. Like, I'm surprised that Carissa is not insisting that she be in therapy. Because wasn't she supposed to be in therapy before? Anyway. So, when Jacob goes to have his session with old boy, Nikki starts talking to Zora. Zora lets her, she was like, so I guess you still live at home. She was like, sort of, I kind of have my own little cabin on the estate. Nikki was like, for real? Oh, you at the estate? Oh, bet. Let's go. And she was like, you just gonna leave? What's his name? Dante? You just gonna leave him? And she was like, child, I'll text him. He'll catch up. And so they go down to the cabin, honey. And they doing what girls do, makeup, hair, and all that good stuff. And old girl tells her, look, Zora, you the bomb. And Zora was like, nah, not really. And now you start to see her, you're starting to see the insecurity, and you're starting to see that vulnerability that she doesn't really let out. And Nikki was like, look, she said, girl, basically Nikki's like, girl, you better love who you are. You better love on yourself. And Zora said something to her like, well, sort of I'm a little self-conscious about that. You understand. And she was like, nope, I don't. And they get to kind of talking, and Nikki start, getting real close, getting in her personal space. And they about to kiss, honey. Until old boy walks up in the door, sort of breaks it up. They kind of talk a little bit, cool. And then he said, all right, well, we'll catch up with you later. And Nikki kind of looks back at her and says, or not. So I'm like, well, damn, Nikki. You was getting ready to kiss her. Now you kind of giving her shading her a little bit, I guess. But I'm wondering where that's getting ready to go. Because that, y'all know Greenleaf, that ain't no one-time shop type situation. It's going to come back. So after Lady May has this horrible conversation, she hits Grace with a SOS. She was like, what the hell are you doing in Phoenix? Why are you still in Phoenix? You need to get back here now. Everything is falling apart. Everything is blowing up. You need to get back here now. And I'm not accepting no for an answer. Now, this is what I'm going to say. Lady May, what you mean you're not going to accept no for an answer? Grace a grown-ass woman. She'll be back when she get back. And that's why I'm like, Grace, come on. You had to know that you were making a bad decision. You had to know that leaving that boy, knowing his vulnerability, knowing how fragile y'all's relationship is. I mean, it's fragile. I mean, you are walking on ice at 90 degrees. You know what I'm saying? And you decided to get on that plane and go back to Memphis. Whatever crisis is going on was not going to stop if you stayed another 24 hours in Memphis and helped that boy get an apartment. And he was all excited. He came downstairs and was like, the place that I found another place, but the landlord is out of town. They won't be back till tomorrow. But I figured today we could go buy some stuff, give me an air mattress. And he wasn't even asking for like a bedroom set. He was like, some towels, some sheets, and an air mattress, just some essentials. And that's when Grace hits him with the, I got to go back to Memphis, but I'll be back. I'll be back. He was like, you know what? Don't. I'm sorry I ever called you. Don't. She said, but I'm telling you, I'm going to be back. She was like, it's good. For real. It's all good. I don't even know why I expected nothing from you. And in my mind, I'm thinking, exactly, Grace. Why would you, child, what Lady Mae gonna do? What is Lady Mae gonna do? Talking about I won't accept no for an answer. Okay, I won't tell you no. But I'll see you in 48 hours. And I get it that they're trying to get the church back and all of that. But Grace, you really are dealing with something bigger right now. And you got to make a decision one way or the other. Now, back down to Hope and Harmony, which she sort of does, but we'll get there. Now, back down to Hope. Oh, Lord, this is getting long. Back down to Hope and Harmony. Phil done got wind of Charity emailing Judy, and Phil is not happy about it. He said, look, that is Bob's daughter. You don't tell her what you are or aren't going to sing. This is a Hope and Harmony church. That song is sung in every Hope and Harmony every Sunday, and it is what it is. And Charity, Charity think that she really got it in with Phil. She really thinks she can bat them eyes at him, and that, because he been playing her, so she really think it's like that, but it ain't really like that. And he tells her, and you know what he asks, you know what else he tells her? The same thing everybody else done told her ass. Grow up. She says, well, don't you want to know why Grace is in Phoenix? He said, Grace is in Phoenix. She said, He said, well, why is she in Phoenix? She said, well, you need to find that out. I don't know. And so he was sort of like, she said, now, aren't you sad that you came in here going off on me like that? And I guess she expected this big apology from him, for him to give her a grin and to be like, yes, thank you so much. And he ain't give her that. He was like, thank you, and rolled out. I said, But what we find out, Bob lives in Phoenix. So Phil automatically thought that that Grace was in Phoenix chopping it up with old Bob. Because, of course, nobody know about this child situation going on in Phoenix. But that brings us back around to Bob telling Grace, I've been watching you since Phoenix. And that goes back to, there is more there. There is something there. Phil knows it. I don't know what Phil knows, but Phil knows there's more to this whole them coming to Calvary situation than just they wanted another church. And it's something connected. And I'm sure it's going to come out. We early in the season, honey. We're going to get there. Back down to the estate. Lady Mae is going through the pictures. And that's when the old slides. Y'all know everybody had that little slide machine where they would put the pictures on the slides, honey. And they would look at the slides. Everybody had one of them slide machines. And that's when she opens up to Bishop about what the woman told her about how they believe that she knew about what Mac was doing and stuff. And, of course, Bishop was like, well, you didn't know. And, and she said, it's not you, it's me. She said, I've been trying to, I've been thinking it's you, or I've been trying to put it on you that it's you, but it's not you, it's me. They don't want me. And she has a moment, she cries and he comforts her and everything. But again, y'all gonna have to refresh my memory on that one, because like I said, I could have sworn that she knew. But anyway, Grace comes home. They're having family night. Watching all the old pictures, and Faith was the first picture that popped up, and so they sort of had a moment. But I'm sorry, let me rewind real quick. Jacob and Carissa. Jacob tells Carissa what his daddy said. Basically, look, I gotta love on you. I gotta prove to you that I love you. I gotta prove to you that I'm here, and I gotta prove that to you every day. And she was like, oh, thank you so much, Jacob. He said, but I don't want to sell that land. And so, I don't know what's going to happen with that land, honey. But right before they could... And Carissa sort of gives him a little bit of an ultimatum. But before he could answer, that's when Lady Mae calls all of them down to the family room so they can look at these pictures. Grace comes home, and Charity says, oh, you back from Phoenix? And she said, yeah. She said, well, did you talk to Bob? And Grace was like, why would I talk to Bob? So, it's almost like Grace didn't know Bob was in Phoenix, because she was like, why would I do that? And, Charity's giving her the side eye like, yeah, all right then. Because, of course, in Charity's mind, what other reason would you be in Phoenix? And that's sort of where the episode ends, with them sort of just having this moment with Faith up on the screen and Lady Mae. Because Jacob was like, oh, I'm sorry, Mom. I didn't realize that was the first picture. And Lady Mae was like, that's okay. Leave it up. And then he goes to change the picture. And she says, no, leave it up for a little while longer. And so they sort of have a moment. And then Grace goes back upstairs. I guess the moment has passed. They done had their little family night. Grace goes back upstairs and she calls AJ. AJ comes to the phone. Now, I don't know who the hell AJ thought was on the phone. AJ, whatever friends you got. Who else calling you at the halfway house, AJ? But AJ answers the phone, and it's Grace, and he's like, what do you want? And I really thought he was going to hang up on her tail. But he was like, what do you want? Why are you calling me? And she said, I want you to come home. So I don't know what can of worms Grace is getting ready to open up, honey. But it's about to go down to the Greenleaf. So y'all let me know what y'all think. Drop it in my comments. Peace.